Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Python tutorial. And in this tutorial, I'm gonna do a series on projects that we're gonna be working on using Python, default Python. And first, I'm gonna start off with this video introducing you to how to use inputs in Python. So the first thing is, obviously, we're either gonna, if we have Python, then we could go ahead and open it up. But if we don't have Python, then we need to know how to install Python. So go ahead and go to your Internet Explorer or Google and type in python.org. So this will take you to your Python website where you can install Python idle, which is the IDE or the environment where you can type in the code to do the program, to run the program. So if you're a 32-bit operating system, then go ahead and install this 3.6. If you want to, you can install 2.7, but the syntax differs from 3.6, which I will be using. So you might you might not be able to exactly follow what I'm going to use in my tutorials. Anyway, if you're a 32-bit operating system, then go ahead and install that. But if you're a 64-bit operating system, then go to all releases in downloads, and then scroll down here till you see looking for a specific release. So there it is. Yes, we're looking for a specific release, and you go to Python 3.6.0, which is right here, and that's quite recent. So go ahead and go to downloads, and if you scroll down to the bottom of this page where it says files, you will see that there is a 64-bit executable installer. So go ahead and click that. I'm not going to be stupid and install it again, but if you haven't got it installed, then if you basically install it using this, then you can agree to all the terms. If you want, you can read them. They're all fine. So you agree to everything, and then I would recommend at the end choosing the default installer, because it has an option on custom installer or default installer, and I would recommend the default options, and then just go ahead and install that. And then if you go onto Windows and then type in IDLE, or you can just go to Python, which should be here. So I've got 3.6, and then you should see these 4 files installed. We don't need to worry about what they are now. All we need to do is open up this idle. I've already got it open here, so let's just close this out here. So this is the Python shell. This is where we're not exactly going to be using the code, but where the code will be outputted and where we're going to run it for now. So what we need to do is create a new file where we can put in our main code. So the first thing from here to progress is that we need to save this file. So I've called it Python tutorial and I've saved it to my desktop. And now, without any interference, let's directly get started with what we need to put in for our code. So to take in an input, we need to save it as a variable in Python. I've analyzed that many people have used a name as a typical example, so I'm going to go ahead and choose something different here. So let's just say game. So game would be the input, so that's the main command here. That's our command of the day today. So that's what we're using to take in an input. And then you put your speech marks, and then in here we want to ask what's can't spell what's your favorite game. Okay, and we have a question mark, and then all we want to do is print that in the next line. So print game. There we go. So we've got a very simple program here that just prints out the value of game, which is the input for whatever the user types in. So let's run this quickly. So what's your favorite game? I'm just gonna say football. Okay, there we go. We got football outputted. Well, if you actually observe, there's a question mark, and then it's directly next to the F in football. Well, personally, I find that annoying that there isn't a space bar in between. What do we do to improvise this? Well, All we do is just simply add a spacebar there, and then that will save a space. So whenever I try to backspace, it won't accept it. So here I can go ahead and type whatever I want. Not Foot SDF. I've never heard of this sport here. Foot SDF. Sounds like an interesting game. Anyway, so what we've got here is a basic function. I shouldn't really say function, but a basic piece of code that just prints out the input of what the user types. Okay, so if we want to change this to taking in a number input and then using it to do some math calculations, well, how do we do that? I'm just gonna quickly go ahead and highlight this code out. And you don't need to do this, but you can just delete it if you want to. I'm just going to highlight it out. So now we can create a new variable and call it number. Okay, and we can say it equal to, well, if the input by default is a string value, so that's our data type, how do we get an integer value? Well, all you do is have an int before the input, and then you type in your input there, which is enter a, oh god, I can't spell enter, a number. There we go. And then we want to add that space so that it looks neat. And then we can now print number. But if you want to say add that by 2, you just say add by 2. And now, if we run this, enter a number, well, 12. And we know that 12 plus 2 is 14. So it's done. It's took it as an integer, and it's done the calculation here, and it's printed it out to the user. So that's how easy it is, guys. If you want to change it to float, which takes in double and long values, then yeah, I mean, you just take a float, and then you can add like 2.4435, and then yeah, it just adds whatever you want. There we go. It's added it. So you can add in whatever you want, whatever data type you want in front of this input here. So that's the basic input function, guys. In our next video, we'll look at how to get started with a quiz, because we want to start looking at more functions, using functions, calling them, using calculations, and taking in inputs and selecting an option. But anyway, guys, stay tuned to these Python tutorials. Hope you enjoyed them, and I'll see you in the next video.